contests, and Wildcard really showed up in the first game. Let's see if Fnatic can get their revenge.
Well, let's see where these teams are heading for the second matchup. Keep in mind, it is an independent map veto, so we might see Clubhouse again. I'm doubting it after that first match. It'll end up being Coastline. So, look, most importantly, or most critically, we're not going to see Theme Park in ANZ in Season 11. So that is a little bit of a feels bad, but I think Coastline will produce an interesting match.
Yeah, but it was Wildcard that banned Clubhouse. That's the weird bit to me, because they just 7-3'd Fnatic on it. So you got to think, like, what's running through their mind? Are they thinking we just have too much faith in Fnatic's ability to adapt? And it makes me wonder, like, if, let's say that Wildcard had banned Clubhouse, like, would Fnatic ban it, or would they prefer to play Coastline? So I don't know, a lot of kind of what ifs and that, but man, Coastline, we had these teams play it last season. It was one of their final matches against each other, and it's always a bloodbath. It's always a lot of sweat, a lot of fun. So I'm keen for it nonetheless.
And I guess the funny thing about that match last season, one of the star players in that matchup was actually Virtue, who at the time was playing for Fnatic. So now it's going to be someone else's turn to step up to the plate. I mean, funnily enough, we actually saw Aces, his replacement, in the last map, showing up massively, almost hitting a few clutches there, well, actually succeeding in one of those occasions. But I definitely think Fnatic, one or two of those members, just really need to step up and bring something more to the table. Whereas I think on the side of Wildcard, it was a pretty well-rounded effort for the most part.
A lot of the rounds that Fnatic were losing were based on heavy risks that they were taking, and a lot of the rounds that they won were because they did fairly simple stuff and just landed their shots. They managed to everything went according to plan, and they just stayed consistent throughout. So I know it's difficult to say. I feel like Wildcard's a team where you can't just get away with doing something cheeky. You've got to be thorough.
Well, we saw Wildcard take the first map. Let's see if the Fnatic fans that have faith for the second matchup. Let's bring up the poll vote and see who is the favorite. And yeah, okay.
Is that 1% over towards Wildcard?
Do you reckon even if Wildcard 7-0'd Fnatic, do you think it would change the poll result?
Nah, it's who people want to win, right? I mean, honestly, I just want to go over it right now and vote for Wildcard, just because I'm not biased, but I just feel like they deserve a bit of love, you know? They earned that win on the last map, but hey, Fnatic's fans are out there cheering, and if you spam enough static in the chat, then who knows what'll happen.
Oh, jeez. Brace for that in the chat, I guess. Well, actually, let's lead on from that. Fnatic, I'm sure the chat spam isn't really going to help them, I don't think. What do they actually need to do to try and take this up against Wildcard? We know, as you said, the last time they played, it was 6-6, but that was a long time ago. A lot has changed. They're coming off the back of a loss. The first time this season, they're actually heading into the second matchup. After a loss, they have had a draw that was against Kanga and then came back strong. Do you think they'll be able to bounce back here against Wildcard?
Definitely on Coastline. Wildcard have been a pretty good Coastline map, but they've also seen some struggles on Coastline in the past as well. I've got to say, Coastline is a map where Fnatic can run around and do their thing and step up huge, and it'll make a huge difference. It's not just a map control, not just a utility fest. And Wildcard really need to keep their head above the water if they want to stay on board this ship and ride it all the way to their destination.
Well, let's kick off the second map between these two teams. And I would like to check, did Elevate actually win the first matchup last night? Because I feel like I might have made an error, or maybe I'm right. I think my tracker's a bit dodgy.
Yep. 7-5 on border.
So I apologize. So Fnatic have bounced back from a loss this season. So disregard what I said. Fnatic definitely in a great position to bounce back here. They have done it before. It was a smaller margin as well, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's true. Now let's have a look at these opera bans. Wildcard gets rid of the Hibana. That's primarily for that hookah defense, where teams will open up those walls onto the cocktail bar. Buck eliminated. That's because Emo Rin is the GOAT Buck, to be honest. He's a god. And attacking hookah, if you let Emo Rin have Buck, you're just not going to be able to sit in hookah or in billiards or anywhere on the map, because Emo will find you and he will buck you from below.
Valkyrie will round out the bans. Nothing too crazy here, I guess, outside of possibly that Goyo, and indicates to me that Wildcard on this first half don't want to be dealing with too much of that soft breach utility clear. And rightly so. Definitely a challenge in the current meta.
Yeah, great point with the Goyo there. And look, I have a feeling that we're going to see a bit of mirror here. Maybe if Fnatic decide to do some of their kind of over-the-top mirror strats on, they're defending hookah, but they want to make sure that the enemy doesn't get kitchen control, so they chuck a mirror in kitchen. That's the kind of thing we've seen Fnatic do in the past. Not opting to go with it yet. In fact, getting a Rook. Very unusual operator pick in Pro League, especially when Echo's unbanned, where you're getting a very similar gun, just not getting those t-shirts. But perhaps there's something I don't know about how Fnatic think this damage reduction. You get about 20% extra health, essentially, 20% damage reduction by wearing those armor plates. So it does help a little bit. Basically turns all your 3 speeds, or 1 armors, I guess I should say, into a 3 armor. So, I don't know, might make a difference. I'm not sure. Maybe it tells us that Fnatic's going to be playing really aggressive, taking a lot of gunfights.
Yeah. 5 seconds to go. I think I'd probably have to edge along that side. Definitely considering it was a 6th pick, so they're trying to throw Wildcard off with that pick. Maybe revealing it in that initial stage would have been a little bit too obvious. I thought maybe we'd see some spawn kills from Fnatic. I don't think they've attempted any. Looks like Mentalist might be trying to line one up, but haven't really heard any shots raining out just yet. And he's just chilling over in Sunrise, having a quick drink, just chilling out, waiting for this match to really kick off. And if it's anything like the first map, Dev, it'll probably turn up pretty quickly.
You'd think that Coastline would be the most chill map out of all of them. I mean, there's so many bars, so many lounges, but to be honest, Coastline is the most high-octane map in the competitive pool right now. Top floor control from Wildcard being contested. Nice job droning out VIP and such. Pushing from the DJ balcony. Still, there was presence near Theatre. In fact, a deployable shield. Defenders will often contest this angle in Theatre. A lot of strong positions. In fact, there's 2 players from Fnatic there at the moment. Tex is ready and waiting for this. Wasting those stun grenades is the Capitao of Diesel. An Ash charge goes over the top. But it does get chewed up by something. Or did he miss? There you go, there's an ADS there. Continues to peek that angle, but doesn't land any shots just yet. You gotta blame Diesel there. His stun grenades didn't go deep enough and didn't destroy that ADS.
We have now eclipsed the halfway point of the round, and in classic Wildcard fashion, they're taking their sweet time, trying to gain map control and set up for that execute. Diesel, of course, with the diffuser in hand, playing onto Capitao. The drone economy as well for Wildcard, looking alright at the moment. Not sure how many drones Magnet has collected, as he sits behind that main lobby desk, rotates just out in time, makes his way over towards security, trying to find a bit of a safe haven from what could be his death up against Geo. On that Nomad, of course, and he's definitely been having a great start here. I think Geo and Pat as well, both playing quite well. Talking about Pat, he gets that kill through the drone roll onto Tex, and that's massive.
Fnatic gave up on trying to contest from the penthouse side, and they're trying to clear instead through Theatre, and it works effectively. They spot out Lusty, and Diesel's got to be counting as lucky stars that he picked up Pat, because the Zafir just saved his life. And now the 2 free picks, nice and early, not free picks, and not really early actually. 20 seconds left, and the Smoke Babes can completely stall out this service room push. So it'll have to be an explosive finish for Wildcard.
Aces does get that vertical kill, and the second down there. Mentalist gets one as well in the meantime. Now it's a 2-on-2. Shots raining out from Geo, gets himself that kill. It's actually Mentalist, sorry, there onto Geo. It's a 1-on-2 now. Shots raining out through the little metal fence, but Fnatic will get that round in the end. Holding strong there. What a performance from Aces there on that smoke. What a big round from him.
And that's where the smoke really does tend to shine in the last few seconds of the round, especially in close range encounters. Aces plays that role so well. I really got a point towards the fact that Wildcard couldn't get rid of that shield in Theatre. Now it's such a small detail, but it had ripple effects on the rest of the round. because Wildcard couldn't clear out that deployable shield, they weren't comfortable contesting techs aggressively and clearing out theater from the guitar side, from the Hall of Fame. So instead, they rotated. They pushed one player through 90. They actually got a pick through the drone hole. The other player pushed up. It was, I believe, Imarin on the sledge, pushing from the top white stairs to try and pinch. And yeah, it worked eventually. In fact, they got those picks without getting refragged at all. But the problem was it took so long, only 30 seconds left for the final collapse. No time for Imarin to open up the floor and take out those players underneath in the bomb site.
Let's talk about Aces for a little bit. Late in that round, he used the last of his smoke canisters, but he had a massive effect. Hitting that shot vertically up above that he shouldn't have won, and then another down with that shotgun. It's almost easy to forget that he's only really just joined back into this roster after being on the bench for quite some time. Of course, Virtue departed to G2 Esports over in the European Pro League. Ace is filling that void in the meantime. And I mean, I'd have to say he's making a pretty good case for him to stay back in this team at the moment. He's definitely performing well tonight.
He's had a lot of almost scenarios and also a lot of successes. And he's now playing a position inside of Sunrise. We saw him doing his setup. Kind of setup teams like G2 often like to do. A deployable shield inside of Sunrise. Let's talk about that later when it's relevant. At the moment, let's focus on Lusty roaming here on this lobby side. Gets droned out. Here's Vigil. The attackers definitely knew he was there. In fact, a very spread out hold from Fnatic so far. Mentalist was holding down Office by himself with the Yokai drones. 3 players from Wildcard pushing and 1 droning ahead in that VIP area.
Text on that Jaeger. We saw him down through the drone hole in the last round by Pat, who funnily enough is actually droning out, trying to find where Lusty is now located. So everything is related at the moment. Each of these teams trying to outfox one another. That gadget from Lusty, that disruption as you referred to it earlier, is causing some big issues here for Wildcard. Unsure if they can proceed down that hallway, and Lusty just baiting it perfectly at the moment, wasting so much time.
And Nomad does prevent any flank up the white stairs, however, and I think Wildcard are fairly convinced they have this top floor under wraps, just droning out last few parts of Sunrise. Lusty downstairs. Diesel does check that and sends his drone nice out the window. Still a lot of top floor control, but not a lot of downstairs control and time slipping away. Diesel playing this Capitao could be instrumental for eliminating the position of Aces in Sunrise, but those Wamai magnets will protect him. And look at how much horizontal control Fnatic still have. There's so much ability to deny plant from outside of the bomb site, and Aces is still hunkered down inside, ADSs and magnets ready to catch any projectile sent towards him.
Ace is in a perfect position to spoil the party for Wildcard once again in this late round, and as we always see, Wildcard leaving it to these dying seconds to try and overwhelm Fnatic. Aces with full confidence in this angle, still peeking behind that shield. His position likely is noted by Wildcard, but he gets aggressive. He wide peaks. He gets one. The refrag comes out. Lusty with aggression onto that run out. Doesn't net himself a kill, though. His position is revealed. 20 seconds left on the board now. Diesel once again with the diffuser in hand needs to try and enter and get that bomb down. Could even use that shield against Fnatic. Not in the greatest position, but could be utilized. Either way, though, it's now 10 seconds left. This counter just continues to go down, and the aggression needs to come out from Wildcard. They storm the site. The plant being attempted by Diesel with the man advantage. Tex in the gunfight at Cool Vibes. He's not in a position to deny the plant. Can they deny it? It's the actual Yokai in the end, I believe, that has denied that plant. Fantastic play there from the Echo. Unfortunately, Wildcard unable to take that gadget out, and Fnatic will finesse that round.
Goes to show that patience is a virtue, even when virtue heads across the pond.
Oh, I knew you were gonna say. Oh, I just knew when you said that you were gonna say that. Oh.
You know what's funny is I didn't even think of that joke beforehand. I literally just was gonna say patience is a virtue, and then I realized, oh, that's funny.
every time I think of saying it, I go, yeah.
Well, Fnatic, those are Yokai drones. It's easy to point to the Echo and say that that was the reason they won the round, but it was a little bit of everything. because the Yokai drone won the round because the timer was at 0 when the bomb wasn't down, when the diffuser wasn't down. And that wasn't just the Yokai preventing it from going down at the end. That was everything from the very start of the round when Wildcard was clearing the map and Lusty was shooting drones and disrupting them with his Vigil ability. It was later on when Aces was hard holding inside of what we call Sauna near the aggressive part of Sunrise. And all of the 2 ADSs that were dedicated to that and multiple Wamai devices that meant it Wildcard couldn't destroy his shield. They ended up killing him using, forcing his position out using the Capital Firebolts. Ironically, the Wamai magnets did catch those firebolts, but it didn't matter in the end because they detonated right on top of his face anyway. But all of that time being delayed was the reason that Yokai was able to deny that plant in the last few seconds. And that kind of synergy between players is what really makes Fnatic Fnatic.
Yeah, and it's definitely rounds like those that highlight the Achilles heel, if you would, of that wildcard attack approach, because it's almost a given that they are going to take their time on these takes. We very rarely see them rush, never mind go for aggressive takes early. So Fnatic seemingly have been able to read into that. We're able to deny that plant from going down. Not necessarily having to get all those kills. Just got to be able to stop that diffuser from being planted, and they were able to do so. I wonder how Wildcard are going to adapt to that, though. Will they try and get Ethan in early to clear out those Yokais? Will they maybe try and frag it out? I guess it's up to them now to try and work out a counter to this Fnatic approach.
Drone spotted there. That Vigil once again delaying time. Use your scanner. Shoot a drone. Use your disruptor. Not scanner, disruptor.
A bomb has been located.
Just prevent those attackers from having any clue what's going on. The Yokai spots out the Zephyr. Texas eager to contest that. Barbed wire now destroyed. There's 2 players down there. Dangerous position for Pat to be in, and there are still roamers downstairs as well. I believe that's Magnet, in fact, on the Wamai, ironically, wielding his magnets, gets spotted out, shoots the drone. Doesn't move too much. His position now. What? Lusty takes him out with a flank. I thought that was Magnet who landed that shot.
So did I.
No, Lusty for the double. And Ethan does get just a consolation prize, but another one for Lusty, a 3K on the round. Single-handedly dismantling Wildcard as they're distracted with the remaining players. There's another one for Wildcard, mind you. Lusty's still up, still down for the ace, but he's taken really low HP as well, and Imarin's eager to take this fight.
A great play from Lusty, but he is very low on HP now. Still winnable for Wildcard. Plenty of time on the board if they can find one more pick. It's going to be challenging for Fnatic. Challenging for both teams, really. Both with some big tasks ahead. 30 seconds left for Wildcard to try and attempt this execute. There is a player inside of VIP at the couches. It doesn't look like Wildcard are aware of this position. Emarin doesn't check to his right. Gets one. But is refragged. Is Lusty, so he doesn't get his ace this round. Geo is left in a 1 versus 2. One of the biggest clutches in the ANZ Pro League this season. This will have to be one of the biggest clutches of his career if he wants to win this one. Players to his left and right, both protected by utility. He can't clear it. He's being stunned, and Fnatic will take that round.
No less on one of the maps in the competitive pool that is regarded as fairly attacker-sided in the grand scheme of things. And yet, Wildcard really struggling on these attacks. Fnatic flawless thus far. Wildcard were the ones who decided not to go to Clubhouse, where they had already had a 7-3 victory against Fnatic. Fnatic has so far won as many rounds this map as they did in the entire 10 rounds of the previous.
Are you getting the impression that maybe some of this soft breach utility counter that Fnatic are bringing to the board with the shields and the Yokais, etc., is that hampering Wildcard at all? Because it feels like even once Wildcard gets some sort of map control, the conversion onto side is just so challenging. I mean, in that last round, we saw players just chilling behind shields basically in the open, and there was nothing that could be done about it, really. Limited time and limited resources late round.
I agree, there's definitely, especially when Aces was playing really aggressively back there. And also the earlier round where this very shield we're looking at right now from Lusty inside of Theater pretty much completely prevented Wildcard from pushing the guitar side, and they had to fully rotate and go for another side push. Yeah, it absolutely has been hampering Wildcard, but it's also the roam game. The roam game from Fnatic in that last round was insane. It was just Lusty going nuts. And look at that, 3 ADSs right here. Fnatic know that Wildcard haven't been bringing a Thatcher, as so few teams do on this map, which means they're happy to stack all their ADSs in one position. It'll take 6 pieces of soft breach, or of projectiles rather, to get rid of all of those ADSs, and then you still have to have a grenade or Zephyr lifeline to get rid of the shield itself. So let's say you got 3 stun grenades from the Nomad, 3 stun grenades from the Capitao. All of those have to land in those ADSs, and then finally you can use a lifeline or a frag grenade. And last time, Diesel didn't throw his stun grenades deep enough, and they didn't get caught by those ADSs. I have a feeling Wildcard won't make the same mistake twice.
Pat's found himself all the way inside of VIP, breaching open in towards bedroom as they try and flush out these roamers. Playing above site, keep that in mind. Pat enters in. Doesn't see anything he likes and will retreat back to his teammates. This shield, as you alluded to, making it really difficult to clear this part of the map. Those ADS devices just chewing up Util. Tech's unlucky to miss that shot. Gets lit up as he crosses the doorway. Lusty in a position to assist potentially, but playing quite patiently at 90. The grenade comes out. That does even more damage. Tech's now, he's one shot. If Wildcard can clear him now, this will be a great start to the round as we eclipse the halfway point.
They have info on Lusty now. They've droned him twice. A second drone spots him. Pat's trying to contest. Pat's looking for this kill onto Tex. He knows he's in that corner, but Tex knows. All he has to do is sit here. Lusty's there to back him up. Takes down Emo Rin. And the Yokai drone as well, feeding information to these roamers. Wildcard are completely bamboozled. They're focusing so hard on these 2 players, and they still haven't managed to get these kills yet. They know they can't wide swing Tex because they will get refragged by Lusty. That's why we have Geo trying to push from the hallway. Ethan as well. But still, Wildcard haven't been able to find this. Finally, Tex goes down. Pat decides it's enough. I have to move in. Lusty's still alive though, and he gets taken down by Ethan. Almost managed to steal another kill. But even with those kills taken out, 1 kill, 2.5 minutes, and so much health damage done. That is so much that these 2 players have accomplished for Fnatic.
Wildcard do love a good late round push though, and they have 30 seconds to try and execute something here. Try and get their first round win on this map. That timer keeps ticking down. 20 seconds left now. Great bullet hole, or punch hole rather, from Magnet, watching that service entrance. Surely we're going to kill, but he misses those shots. Pre-fire will surely take him out here. Comes out, but it misses. The smoke's now blocking that vision. Mentalist gets one. It's a 3-on-3, but Aces comes up massive, dropping that diffuser. It's a 2-on-2. Magnet gets one as well, and Geo is entering in towards bathroom, but there's absolutely nothing he can do. Dev, and Fnatic will take 4 rounds straight, and Wildcard just really struggling at the moment.
Also to mention, it was Emarin who was taken out as during the roam from Fnatic. Emarin of Wildcard, the primary soft breacher with that sledgehammer, who was taken out, which meant that Wildcard didn't open up all that floor above the bomb site, didn't expose positions like we saw Magnet and Aces holding on the bomb site. So it not only was it the time delay, but it was also a huge utility sink. And the fact that 2 players from Fnatic alone managed to completely distract Wildcard, plus, of course, the Yokai play from Mentalist, they completely read Wildcard. But the thing is, Wildcard fully dedicate all to one thing. So Fnatic dedicate really hard to that same area in response. You'd think Wildcard would be like, all right, this is going to be really hard to take. Let's push somewhere else. But they're so focused on achieving their set goals. And that does come back to bite them. Now 4 straight rounds for Fnatic, and it really doesn't look like they're going to let up anytime soon.
Wildcard, historically, quite a rigid team, as you're alluding to. Trying to tick off those boxes, I guess, and win rounds, but it's just being countered beautifully by Fnatic at the moment. Just nothing in response from this attack. That's really been unnerving them. quite clinical at the moment, especially on this roam. I think Dev has been so impactful. So much time is just being wasted. It feels like the round for Fnatic is almost infinite at the moment as they just keep letting it tick down.
Ethan does switch onto the Ashe, and it makes me wonder whether that's primary for the soft breach and for the stuns, which can waste out ADSs and magnet charges, but is it also just for that confidence? I think Wildcard do need a little bit of explosivity right now. A little bit of confidence to just go for broke. Try something. Make an entrance.
Shots begin to rain out. Neither team doing or conceding any damage at the moment. Pat collects that drone as he makes his way through VIP. The pre-fire there from Tex doesn't net him a kill, but Ethan's actually made his way into slide as Tex will fall back. Lusty not quite there to cover. There are two players at the bottom of Cool Vibes. Ethan needs to be so careful of his back that he doesn't get shot by that roamer. He is aware of it. Doesn't seem as it's actually through the wall. I thought that was just over the countertop there, but it wasn't. It's Lusty all the way inside of a Chrome. He drops down though, so Fnatic not dedicating as hard to this roam on round number 5.
And yet, Wildcard still have to be worried about that Vigil. They don't know he's gone downstairs, and Lusty's going to be using that Disruptor as much as possible to just add that uncertainty to Wildcard. And Mental's also going to be droning for his own team, using the Yokai. Ethan likely to take it out. There you go. Great job. A lot of information there denied for Fnatic. And also, it was the Yokais that clutched this very Sunrise defense last time around. Good stun grenade forces Tex back. Now, Soft Breach laid down onto the floor as well, as everything turns quiet.
Yes, it does. Either way, you can listen to our smooth voices for the next round. It is a 5-on-5. All members of Wildcard and Fnatic still on the board, and we do see that position being held behind the shield inside of the bar once again. That's Aces on the Wamai, currently going 4-2. Definitely been a solid series for him thus far. Ethan, with the diffuser in hand, is trying to make an entrance over towards that side of the map, which we did see them attempt on the last time. And again, it's feeling almost like a replay. Tex holding the bottom of these stairs, and everyone's position feeling quite static at the moment. He is droned out eventually. That Mozzie Pest not quite catching that drone as the rotations from Fnatic come out. They try and edge closer towards the site, try and offer that protection. Keep in mind, it was the Yokai drone from Mentalist that denied the plan on the last occasion, and we could well see that here once again. Diesel is on that IQ, but he's pretty far away from side as we hear the 15-second counter go down and the frags begin to come out. Mence goes off as well as Aces. Frags still coming out left, right, and center. It's Emo and Geo left to try and enter in towards the site, but it gets denied. Geo once again is left to clutch it out. Absolutely no time on the board. He gets taken down, and Fnatic take the 5th round, and it is the 5th round now in a row. Looking very difficult if you're a Wildcard fan. Fnatic has been unstoppable on this defense, and you've got to be worried if you're not banning Echo against Fnatic, because it's terrifying. It's just really, really scary. And yeah, there's everything that Fnatic's doing right, and we talk about it all the time. The thing that Wildcard do is take their time, and they're really good with that time. They accomplish a lot with it. Until they don't, and then they sit there and time ticks away, and they have to go for a desperate measure in the last few seconds. They might get one frag in the desperate attempt, but they so rarely actually win rounds when they haven't properly set up as they intend to. Yeah, and I think scary is actually probably the best way to describe not only that Yokai denial and the Echo, but the entire playstyle from Fnatic on this second map has really stepped up. Everywhere Wildcard go to try and gain any sort of map control is being contested. And then if it's not, Fnatic have that freedom to rotate back towards site. Those rotates not being held, understandably so, because they are in such tricky parts of the map. And then it gets to that stage late round, as you mentioned, where Wildcard have put in the groundwork. They're getting closer and closer towards site. But then you have players like Mentalist and Aces sitting back behind shields, waiting for them to push in. There's nothing that Wildcard can really do in that last round, just forced to try and yeet it in towards the side, essentially. And once you're clutching at straws like that, you're not going to be winning rounds. And the scoreboard reflecting that so far, 5 rounds in a row to Fnatic, and Wildcard looking like pretty unlikely victors at the moment. Yeah, I think that Fnatic have
perfected on this map the ability to have faith in individual players holding individual areas. Never once did Wildcard try to push Office where there were 2 players hanging out from Fnatic, and never once did Wildcard really put serious pressure on the bottom blue stairs rather, until the very end of the round when Diesel just made a desperate jump down there. Fnatic held so much ground so confidently that there wasn't really a vulnerable point for them. And that was the struggle from Wildcard. They're looking at this saying, all right, bottom blue stairs is going to be really hard to take. Tex is sitting down there. He looks really hard to kill. There was also a lot of information that Fnatic had, thanks to the Yokais. Aces, which is where they decided to put their pressure. Behind that deployable shield, so much utility, even has backup. That's tough. The 2 players Office, that was never even a thought for Wildcard. And on top of all that, there's a 5th player there somewhere. I don't know where he was, but it's just making it all the more difficult.
Yeah, and I guess that raises two key questions so far. Firstly, what have Fnatic done over this break to turn up like this? What have they changed? And conversely, what are Wildcard doing wrong? Because we didn't see them bring such extreme desperation in the latter stages of these rounds on Clubhouse. Yes, it was the classic Wildcard, taking your time, being methodical, but it never felt like they were sort of clutching at straws. I keep saying that, but desperately trying to get these like late round advantages and going for these picks out of desperation, like we are seeing here on Coastline.
I've got to say, a part of it, I think, is that strategy that Fnatic used in Sunrise in particular, where they have aces playing all the way in sauna or near sauna in that aggressive position with the shield and the Lamais and the Jaegers. That's a pretty normal kind of strategy in Europe. If you watch G2 play Coastline, that's a strategy they frequently bring out. But it's not such a common strategy in ANZ. So Wildcard, they're a team that once they figure out a problem and they figure out how to solve the problem, they're really good at overcoming it. Maybe they've never scrimmed against holds like that before. Maybe they've never scrimmed against holds like that before that are as good as Fnatic's version of those holds. That means that Wildcard are trying to figure this out as they go along, and they're always one step behind. Especially because I think that two of the key things Fnatic are so good at on this map is roaming and holding strong positions, and also information gathering. It just enables everything that Fnatic is good at, is when they have information.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that Fnatic is bringing aspects from other regions meta into ANZ. But I guess we can't really discount the fact that Wildcard themselves, they went to Montreal, they boot camped in preparation for the Invitationals. So we can't be cutting them too much slack, because surely they went out, they would have scrimmed some of these international teams, learnt some of those intricacies of those metas that they can now try and incorporate into their own game. So where do you think Wildcard are falling short in trying to do that? Because they're in a similar position in terms of having that experience. I guess maybe it can come down to the fact that they have done these roster changes after the 6th Invitational. Of course, Derpe and Neophyte are a bench now, and Pat and Gio are in, so that dynamic is continuing to develop. But for you, is there anything that Wildcard can be doing to try and incorporate some of these more complex strategies?
It feels like they're going into the round, they're kind of just bringing a one-size-fits-all lineup instead of something that Fnatic do really often, which is, hey, let's just try this operator. Let's see if this works. So, for example, if you're trying to dislodge aces playing in that position near Sauna, bring a Thatcher. Thatcher out, you get rid of all the ADSs, you deactivate all of them, my magnets for a little bit of time, then just destroy the shield. Like one Thatcher, one Ash Charge or what have you, that destroys the shield. I was also a bit disappointed by how little we saw the IQ locating those Yokai drones, because I think that of all the teams in ANZ in particular, Fnatic is the best with Yokai, with the Echo drones. We see them use them especially aggressively, really effectively. You need to be countering that. In fact, in that previous round, there was a Yokai drone sitting right when Ethan was trying to hold the top of the blue stairs, there was a Yokai drone that was sitting on the ledge above him. We saw it because it got that little blue outline. Diesel was standing like 5 meters away, and he didn't even whip out his scanner to look for it. And if he had, I don't know, I really thought that could have made the difference. At the same time, it's really hard to be critical of Wildcard and say, oh, you should bring a Thatcher, you should bring a whatever, because they're trying their best to bring like, okay, We know that they're roaming, so they're bringing in Nomad to prevent flanks. And they also need to have lots of stun grenades to get rid of all of the projectile utilities. So they got 3 stun grenades on the Nomad, 3 stuns on the Capitao. Bringing the Capitao for area denial because that's what they really need to dislodge these positions, but it's not working. They need soft breach, so they need melee soft breach like Sledge. They also need explosives to get rid of all the shields and stuff. And once you tick all the boxes that you need like 10 operators to do that in some scenarios. And I think that's how Wildcard are feeling right now. And that's why they haven't had such great success, because they're not just picking, this is the correct solution to this problem. They're trying to do a kind of one size fits all, because that's kind of what you need to do in some ways.
Yeah, and I guess leading on from that point, this is an opportunity for Fnatic to sort of flex their guns a little bit and show that they are flexible onto these operator roles. I mean, if we go back to that Yokai example on Echo, in the APAC 6 Invitational qualifiers, for example, we saw Tex playing Echo, which I don't think many people expected. And then you jump into another matchup where someone else is playing it. You jump into today where Mentalist is playing it, and to good effect on all occasions. So I think that's maybe something that Fnatic have the edge over on Wildcard at the moment, is just their ability to switch up their roles a little bit more. It does feel like Wildcard are a little bit rigid, and look, if there's any time to switch that up, it's probably about now, because Fnatic are only 1 round away from match point.
It's never too late to make a difference, try something new. So no, I don't blame Wildcard for trying new things if they dare to do so, but at the moment this has been a game of banging their heads against the wall, and that wall has been Fnatic standing strong on these defenses. This could well be a flawless half, because I haven't seen very many moments on Coastline where Wildcard has looked like they'll take a round. And if Wildcard stare into the second half 0-6, man, it's not just the fact that they have got to win every single defense round, but also just that mental position that they would be in, especially players like Pat and Geo, who are still new, feeling trodden down after losing 6 rounds in a row. Got to be devastating to your morale.
5 seconds left before insertion.
Fnatic in a position potentially to take this map flawlessly, heading into Super Week. Here in ANZ, there wasn't a single flawless match, but since then we have seen 2. One was actually last night, I believe. If I bring up the scores, no, it was the 2 the night before, rather. Sinister managed to defeat Kanga 7-0, and then later in the night, Fnatic defeated TVD 7-0. So not only would this be the 3rd flawless win of the season, but it could definitely be Fnatic's 2nd. And against Wildcard, I don't think many people would have tipped that.
No, but it's definitely looking possible. Especially if Fnatic can polish off this one, going into the second half feeling confident, feeling ready to take on any challenge. I wouldn't put it past them. Anything's possible. Well, let's see. Last opportunity for redemption on Wildcard's attacks here. We've hounded them for basically everything under the sun, but here's a good start. Not only have they gotten an early pick, but it's Mentalist of all players who is playing Vars just to pre-fire through that doorway. Takes out the Yokais. Well, the potential for those Yokai drones. Not sure if both of the Yokais were on the board, but even if they were up, that's a lot of information that can't be moved around.
Minute 30 to go. Once again, it's quite slow, but Lusty speeds things up a little bit. That's Emo Rin taken out inside of Aqua. Sledge no longer in play, and Emo Rin will lose any grenades that he had left standing. Didn't hear him use any earlier, so that may well be 2 down the drain here for Wildcard. They need to now adapt. We've been critical, maybe lacking some of that adaptation at the moment. Pat trying to clear that shield, but again, the coverage is fantastic from Fnatic using those ADS devices. Shots raining out. Tex is now a little bit low, finds himself some coverage down the Cool Vibes stairs dev. Still 4 members left up in this defense.
Pat does find another kill despite not being able to get rid of that shield. Pat for another one. I'd said maybe he was feeling the pressure, but he goes huge. That's a 3K on the rounds. Magnet's the last man standing. We were talking about Fnatic stepping up for a potential 7-0, but now Wildcard are in the driver's seat. Magnet needs to step up hugely in a 1 versus 4 retake.
Shoots the air jab. Likely giving a
Is he just
sound
gonna
cue to Wildcard. Yeah. I think at this point, 25 seconds left on that fuse, there's not a whole lot he can do. 4 members of Wildcard sitting very, very patiently. Just going to try and pad his stats out a little bit, get any exit frags. He might get 1 here onto the IQ. That'll be Ethan taken off the board. Doesn't get refragged across courtyard as these players paddle it out. What a shot there from Magnet. That's Pat, always gets the 3rd there, but it doesn't matter. Wildcard will shut him down. And is Magnet running the pizza scheme?
Yeah, he is.
Oh my goodness.
Pat did just get like absolutely deleted by a pizza.
Yes.
Just gonna put that out there.
What a snack.
Well, in my spreadsheet tracking this match, which is all orange, we finally have 1 round for Wildcard. Finally.
Definitely taking their time.
I'm sad. For some reason, my spreadsheet's broken.
Mine's still working. Haha.
Yeah, but yours is your spreadsheet is in the dark ages compared to mine, mate.
Oh.
And you know it. You know it.
Hey, I'm play by play, so I can be a bit more different. I just tell you what's happening on screen. You give us the insightful information. You're the big brain on the screen.
I'm just triggered because I have this like beautiful long if statement that makes it so when I write Wildcard wins the round, it gives me like this little thing to say that the defenders won or like the attackers won. But for some reason it's telling me that Wildcard were on defense, and I'm sad.
Back to the drawing board. Yeah, back to the drawing board for Dev, and potentially for Wildcard as well. Wasn't a bad round there, but still a long way from being able to draw or win this one. But here's a great place to start. Switch of halves, a switch of momentum possibly, and as we always see between these two teams, it's not over till it's over.
Attacker's objective is to locate
To the right. Now it's an opportunity for Fnatic to close this out with some strong attacks, but Wildcard are in this game for the long run. Surely, especially after winning that first map so dominantly. They wouldn't want to... I mean, imagine Wildcard win the first map, but then they lose the second map by a larger margin. You think, we're really fighting for pride here, and Wildcard, they want to at least win as many rounds as Fnatic did on their map.
Almost a minute down in this round, and as expected between these two, it's a battle for info gathering in the early stages. Mentalist with an interesting rappel to get an angle in towards the hookah door. An interesting choice of primary as well, running the LMG-E as opposed to the assault rifle. Both weapons pretty strong. Sophia as a whole, definitely a great package to bring to any to lineup, and Mentalist is bringing her on this occasion. Tex is being lit up. Possibly by Pat at White Stairs, but he will get away with his life.
Good control so far for Wildcard. Now there's pressure up from 90 from Tex. Love to see Aces on the Blackbeard. What a throwback. See whether it can be effective. He's on the roof at the moment, just trying to catch off and punish rotating players from Wildcard. It looks like he'll rotate either to the big window or to the, potentially just to the aqua balcony. Take control of Aquarium. Indeed, looks to be that. Magnet's going to pinch from luggage. Aces drones that out, calls it clear for Mag. Very much a multi-pronged push from Fnatic thus far. Evil Eyes are on the objective as well to prevent this push and eventual plan. Aces gets in to the aqua. Potential for an aggressive push here, but Fnatic have set themselves up really nicely.
40 seconds left now. Wildcard with the HP advantage, but the man count, most importantly, is even. Fnatic playing is very similar to Wildcard in terms of taking their time, and it pays the price. Aces will lose his life. The diffuser has now been dropped. Fnatic needs to try and get it back and go for that plant. Mentalist still outside that balcony. He'll be dropped as well. It's a 5-on-3. Lusty gets one back though onto Diesel, so Smoke can no longer deny that plant. Ethan trying to set up for the run out, but the air jab will prevent that. Pre-fire's coming out in towards Aqua. Doesn't quite get Magnet, who has that diffuser. They're basically forced to go for the plant now. Lusty with a late flank could get one. He does. Can he get another? I'm not sure he will. He will flick onto that Maestro and get the kill in the end. Can Fnatic win this round? Magnet now forced to go for the plant. Can Magnet get it down? Pat can surely deny it. He jumps over the breach. He will get the kill in the end, and Wildcard will just win that round.
That's 2 huge rounds in a row for Pat as well. His debut in Pro League, and he's really stepped into big shoes and turned up huge. And just when you think Fnatic's got it all sorted, Wildcard make their comeback, and well, it's a long way to get back into it. It's still possible for Wildcard to take the dub here, but looking very unlikely. Just one round at a time though. Kitchen is up next. Fnatic looks so good on those attacks though. They're set up really nicely, but when it comes down to just making that execute happen, there's something missing. Even in the dire moments though, with Lusty making that rotate in through hookah to find 2 kills. There's so many flashes of greatness from Fnatic that almost get these rounds over the line.
Well played by Pat in that round. He's been in so many clutch scenarios tonight. Hasn't won them all, but definitely putting his best foot forward on every single occasion. And as you mentioned, filling in some massive shoes. Pat, of course, formerly known as Thumbnail, started this season on the Kanga Esports roster, was a part of their effort in actually drawing with Fnatic on Bank earlier in the season. And then over the break, he jumped ship over towards Wildcard as they, as earlier mentioned, benched Neofighter and Turpe. And I guess maybe we can start to dig in that a little bit at the start of this round. Dev, how are you feeling about these roster changes? Because we've seen them play out for a little bit now. Any sort of thoughts as the season is starting to conclude and wrap up here?
Well, I was pretty convinced already that Gio was an A-grade player in the ANZ scene, and he was going to be a huge addition to Wildcard. I think that was proved already, especially Gio's performance on Elevate, his former team. Pat was, I mean, I had faith in him as a player, but he was still somewhat unproven. Tonight, he has stepped up hugely, and I've got to say, I'm really impressed by all of these roster changes for Wildcard. I think that it's the ingredient that they need to retain their former, or regain, I should say, their former glory.
Wildcard and Fnatic, of course, such a classic matchup here in ANZ. One of the longest and strongest, I guess, rivalries here in the region. So often these teams are battling it out for the top 2 positions. This season has been a little bit different as Wildcard struggled early season, but they are now rebuilding, and the results are starting to show, of course, winning the first matchup tonight. Second one's been a little bit of a struggle, but they have won the last 2 rounds, Dev. Definitely not going down without a fight.
His presence downstairs, very aggressive from Gio. I think his position has been found by the player droning downstairs, but at the moment he's just trying to hold on to Sunrise. Good top floor attack from Fnatic, but still a lot of presence up there from Wildcard. Fnatic really actually haven't made a lot of progress in terms of map control just yet. Gio still has control of Sunrise. Emo still roaming up top. This Fnatic may be taking from the office side. Looks like they had players stationed over there. Still mounting up their attack. I'm not sure what the progress is. Are they just waiting for Wildcard to get antsy and trying to find picks? They had a lot of flank and rotation drones set up. Now they finally take control of Sunrise.
50 seconds left now as we approach the late round, and this is where everything begins to really take off for both teams as they take their sweet time gathering that intel and taking the time and approaching the side. An air jab goes off. Not quite sure where that was from. Either way though, it doesn't net Fnatic a kill. Still 10 members alive, 30 seconds left. Mentalist, he's holding that cross at the front door, and Fnatic in a position to really cut off these rotates, but it's up to them to try and get that plant down. 20 seconds left. Emo still holding up. Pre-fires that angle, doesn't net himself a kill, gives his position away in the meantime. And Fnatic now, they have to commit to this push. They'll rush straight in. Tex leads the charge. He takes out that Yokai. Almost takes out his teammate in the process. Either way, though, he gets it off the board, and the frags now start to come out. Will it go down? It will.
Way. How is this possible for Fnatic? A 5-on-5, and they didn't have almost any map control. But they take out the Yokai drone, and now they're in a winnable position. Assuming strong post plants, and oh, another great shot from Mag. It's all on Emo. Trying to push down the main stairs. A 1 versus 4, and this looks like it could be the match point that Fnatic have been looking for. 18 seconds, 4 players to find, and a diffuser to get down. Less than 2 seconds per kill at the moment, and Fnatic closed out that one. 5 versus 5 with just a few seconds on the clock, but they're going to fall into the bomb site. They're going to make it happen.
Match point now for Fnatic.
Honestly, I have no idea what happened just then. Like that's I'm still getting over that. I was looking at this thinking like, there's no way Fnatic win this round, right? Wildcard still have players above in kitchen, so there's no way they can jump in kitchen window. There were even holes prepped above kitchen door. Like there was so much control from Wildcard. How did Fnatic pull that off?
Winning rounds that they shouldn't. Classic Fnatic. That 6-2 lead. Absolutely massive here.
Attackers need to locate and defuse.
Completely shutting down Wildcard so far tonight, and at least on this second map, I must say, the first map was definitely in favour of Wildcard. Definitely get the impression that this second map not quite as tight as the first, even though the scoreline is quite similar at the moment. Fnatic just seemingly bringing a lot more to the table in terms of the counter game at the moment.
Well, Wildcard, you'd think... I'm going to reinforce the point that I made earlier. This is a game of pride, really, for Wildcard in particular. You know, Fnatic, there is still that first place on the scoreboard, on the leaderboards in the ANZ Pro League, on the line. At the start of tonight, they retained that first spot, but they've got TBD and Elevate nipping at their heels. For Wildcard, they're locked solidly in 4th place, but potentially 3rd place, actually. They could potentially get 3rd place. But they can't get 2nd place. They can't change the prize money that they're going to win out of this. It's bragging rights. We did better to Fnatic than they did to us. And right now, if Fnatic win this round, that won't be the case. Fnatic will have won 7-2 against Wildcard, when Wildcard only won 7-3 against Fnatic. Wildcard need at least 1 more round in here to retain those bragging rights.
This matchup only fueling that rivalry even more for 2020 and beyond. As we see Lusty now droning in towards Aquarium. Fully aware that Emorin is behind the bar. Trading some shots before, and he will confirm that. Emorin still holding that position. C4 from below could be massive from Diesel, and he nets the kill straight through the floor. What a throw there by Diesel, and what a great way to open up this round.
Great kill to get as well. Lusty been really impactful, especially preventing those flanks. Diesel, he's been pretty cold this game so far, this entire series. He went 1-7 on the last map, despite his team winning a hard-fought game. And now that's his first kill of this map as well. Mind you, we did have a rehost, not counting before the rehost happened. Wildcard are in a position to win this round, but as we saw on Fnatic's kitchen attack last round, anything can happen in the dire moments of the round. Fnatic, unlike when Wildcard were attacking, Fnatic do decide to heavily focus on this office side, get this office control. Perhaps they're going eventually for that blue bar plant. It's very difficult when Wildcard still have this control of the top floor.
Texas found an opening in towards blue. He's going to exploit that, but the Emo spots his position. Verticality from above takes him out. Emo in with a fantastic shot there with the commando. Gives Wildcard a fantastic opportunity in this round. Not long to go. Aces approaches the site. He has the diffuser tucked under his arm. He uses those smoke grenades, placing them a little bit higher up to deny that verticality. Can he enter in towards side? He pre-fires. Doesn't quite down that player, but will find himself inside the site. Is the support there from Fnatic? That is the question. Mentalist goes massive there from Kitchen. Can he get the second? No. Ethan shuts that down, but the pistol has been whipped out by Aces. He's going to get aggressive here on the bar. Can he hit this shot? Missing, ducking, weaving. He hits it in the end. And now Emo needs to make sure he denies this plant. Fortunately for him, time is on his side. The question is, do they have the intel? Aces might be able to stick it before he drops and hit the flick. No, he won't. Gets it down just in time, but Emo with the triple closes it out. And this match will continue.
Defenders disable the diffuser.
Just keeping their head above water for a little bit longer is Wildcard. The draw is still on the cards. But there's 3 more rounds they need ahead of him to get that. And get that extra point. Steal away the rest of Fnatic's points potential for tonight. Now, one thing I will say, if we're talking bragging rights, if we're talking the chips on their shoulders, Wildcard have got the 3 rounds they need to equal Fnatic's 3 rounds that they took against Wildcard on Clubhouse. So if Fnatic wins this, we are even between 2 of our most prestigious teams in terms of head-to-head. And it is getting desperate. The one thing that Fnatic seems so good at that Wildcard just weren't able to manage on their attacks is this explosivity. Pushing into the bomb site, taking out these players. And Fnatic now are making another adaptation, bringing the Decabi that they 6th pick away from the Ashe. A Decabi that counters not only the Maestro, forcing him off his cameras, also the Echo, forcing him off his cameras, and allowing for those explosive pushes to work even more effectively. I have a feeling Fnatic has identified that's what worked last round, and it got so close. They're going to try it once more.
Just when you think this matchup couldn't get any better, it does. Wildcard desperately searching for this next round to not only give themselves a better fight for the draw, but as you mentioned, give themselves the lead in that head-to-head and maybe be able to call themselves better than Fnatic in current state. Of course, that's going to be up for debate as Fnatic will, in theory, finish higher than them in the standings. It's been a great series so far, Dev, and I think it's far from over.
Difficult to call at this stage. Fnatic have looked really good, and I'm scared of this Dokkaebi pick. It could be exactly what they need to continue this explosive strategy that worked well against Wildcard, but just ramp it up 1 extra notch and steal away all of Wildcard's camera information gathering at the same time. Surely you're not going to peek that, Ethan! Tex says goodnight, good sir. And that's the Echo taken out. No more of those mobile cameras. With Valkyrie off the board, that's your primary information gathering. Taken out. Droning out the bomb site now as well is Fnatic. They've got that opening pick. Tex didn't even have to use any of his utility to make it happen. Just waiting now. It's the patient game. There's so much time for Fnatic. They could go for an explosive push right now and still have tons of time to work with. Aces gets taken out by Emo Rin. On the roam downstairs, Aces playing the Capita. I'm not sure exactly what the strategy was there, but now droning in from the Billiard side as Fnatic mount their push, not only from Hookah, but also from the Aqua balcony.
Edging closer to the end of this round, Dev. Again, so much pressure on these teams trying to battle it out, and that result's still not looking certain as we enter the latter stages of this round. Just over a minute to go, Dev.
Oh! That was an explosive way to make it happen. Pat with a C4, Gio with one as well. It looks like Wildcard are giving as good as they're getting, and it's all onto Lusty now. Needs to reload this ARX. I'm not sure if they have info on him. Could be that there is no more Maestro or Echo cameras to take this out. Caught between a rock and a hard place, and he's finished off. Wildcard get themselves another step closer to tying this series up in a draw.
At number 11. Will match point in favor of Fnatic. Kitchen and service will be the site. And Fnatic at the moment just struggling to close this one out, unfortunately for them. It's often a trait. I was just going to say, it's often a trait of Fnatic to prevent other teams from closing out matches, but on this occasion, that curse is really falling upon themselves.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Has been a bit concerning for Fnatic as they got so close to making this. Like we were once talking about this being a 7-0, right?
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Right now, I'm not sure, man. This is looking tougher and tougher by the minute for Fnatic, and
Located a bomb.
I mean, this is the point where I'm starting to think maybe, just maybe, that draw is actually a possibility. Can you imagine coming back from a 5-1 deficit and smacking a draw on the table?
Definitely in the realm of possibility here. Wildcard looking quite poised after what was a pretty devastating start, really, to this map. They lost 5 rounds straight, only able to win the final of their attacks on a map which arguably is actually attacker-sided.
Yeah,
They're
it's
really doing well
funny
flipping this one back so far. Yeah, it's playing out quite weird.
You know what we're seeing actually from Wildcard right here is they're doing a very similar setup to what we saw from Fnatic that Wildcard so struggled with, which is that shield into... Oh no. It's alright, Mentalist. No one was watching. Just 5,000 people on Twitch and other platforms. Look, that shield, I don't know if it's going to work as well against Fnatic as it did against Wildcard, because Wildcard don't have a Jaeger. They're just relying on the magnets from the Wamai. So, difficult to call. We'll see. What I will say is Wildcard's being very proactive about looking through holes in the floor. Could work to their advantage.
Hex just droning it out at the moment. Trying to get an invitation to enter Hall of Fame, but elects to jump off that DJ balcony and head over towards the bars. Oscar, meanwhile, doing some nice training for his team as well, and definitely feels like this round will come down to the later stages, and Fnatic will try and bring that explosive. I can't say it.
Your
Go ahead, Dev.
explosivity.
Fill in
There
the
you
gap.
go.
There we go. Thanks, Dev.
No, you say
I
the
can
first.
say
I'll say. You say explode. I'll say civity. Ready?
Explo.
Civity. There we go.
Nice.
Perfect
Well played.
synergy.
Thank you. But now just over a minute to go. Fnatic yet to bring that explosivity. There you go. I said it. Yes, into the map. But there we go. Texas found his way straight into sight. He doesn't miss. He misses that shot onto the rotate though. Smoke's trying to hold him back, but he's found his way over towards the southeastern side of the map. Diesel did drop aces. Tex gets one back though. He gets a second as well. That's the double for Tex, even though they knew exactly where he was. The wallbang comes out though from Pat inside of Courtyard, evening this round out.
And now we get that lull back again. As these players start to reassess the situation, what are the opportunities that Fnatic can exploit here on match point? Wildcard is just a hair's breadth away from making this the final round and putting that draw seriously on the cards, but these players are waiting for it and holding that long line. Lusty finds 2, makes it a 1 versus 3 for Diesel. Put under the pump. Angles from above, but time is ticking away. No more smoke babes to speak of. He gets spotted, and now all the pressure is on him. Lusty is holding the long angle. Can he find that angle? No, Fnatic close out that game. Lusty going huge on the rounds and locking out this victory after such a turbulent mid-game. Fnatic take the victory that they've been gunning for.
Poor start to that map for Wildcard costs them in the end, and Fnatic will be your victors, leaving it 1 map apiece this evening. All the players now can take a breath after what has been one hell of a series. One of the most intense Pro League matches we have seen in ANZ, I think, ever. both these teams just so close at every opportunity.
Especially for one that didn't actually technically go all the distance, because we had a 7-3 only 10 out of 12 rounds, and then there are 7-4 only 11 out of 12 rounds. Both of those maps, I go to say matches, both of those maps felt like really, really close encounters. And I mean, the fact that Wildcard even put themselves in the position of making a draw on the cards from a 5-1, what looks like it was going to be a 7-0 against them, it makes you wonder, imagine if Wildcard had woken up just a little bit more on their attacks.
Yeah, and it was a stark contrast, I think, to the first map where we saw Wildcard seem to be a little bit more proactive in how they approached Fnatic's playstyle. But then when it came to Coastline, it really was the case that it felt as if Fnatic were able to out-innovate their opponents. And it's a trait that we often see come up in their playstyle. But against a team like Wildcard, who has that experience, you would have expected that gap to be a little bit closer on map number 2. But Fnatic just proving to be too strong in those early stages.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the last match of our Pro League. That's crazy to think.
We're done.
That is,
yeah.
I mean, and it's this is scary. I mean, I've been casting Pro League since ANZ had a Pro League back in Season 6, Year 2, Season 3. And, man, now there's no more Pro League. But, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We do have interviews with Fnatic and Wildcard, and also I'm just going to flag this right now. The matches that were played out off stream, so that's Pittsburgh Knights versus Kanga and TBD versus Elevate, they have finished now, but we will be broadcasting them with casters tomorrow night on the Rainbow Six ANZ channel. Yeah, you and me, guys. How's it for you? 4 nights casting in a row, guys.
Yeah,
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This is your super week, to be honest.
It definitely is. Look, it's been tiring. It's been good fun though. Getting to share it with Raven and yourself has definitely been a pleasure. I guess it's unfortunate we couldn't do it in the studio, but look, we've made do. Hopefully everyone at home has enjoyed the broadcast as much as we have. These matches, they've been really awesome. I mean, we see it every season, I guess. Super Week just bring it up another notch, but I think this season as a whole just is really stepping up the game for ANZ just as a region, because I mean, often back in the day people would say, oh, ANZ dead region, top heavy, etc., but look, it's had a real shake up, I think, this year or this season.
Yeah, especially with Wildcard, the team that we'd looked at to be really, really strong, and then this season teams like TBD and Elevate edging in above them. That's been huge. And we're going to have a look at the final standings before we close tonight, after we do our interviews. Mind you, isn't it awesome that we're doing home broadcasts and still doing interviews? So
yes.
Huge hats off to the ESL Australia team for managing to make that happen. Those guys are legends.
Yes.
And yeah, it's been good times, and way to make the most of the situation as well.
Yeah, I think it's really, I guess, the beauty of esports. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of events have been closed down, but we're still going strong, pumping out some content for you guys. And as I said, I hope everyone's been enjoying it, because these matches have been so close. The stakes still there in terms of prize pool and the teams really wanting to give it up to one another. I mean, as you said during that last matchup, ultimately, Fnatic versus Wildcard was really about bragging rights at the end, and I don't think either team left a whole lot in the tank. Maybe there would have been some strategies, yada yada, left in the bank for the future, but in terms of just bringing that hard, aggressive playstyle and trying to frag out as heavily as possible, they definitely did bring that to the table tonight.
Yeah, and there is a bit of a gap. Like you talked about saving strats, like there is a bit of a gap between now and our next tournament that we'll be playing in ANZ, the Six Masters. So this is really an opportunity for, like you said, bragging rights for these teams, and I'm just eager to hear what the teams think of it.
Well, we have Silex, the coach of Wildcard, waiting on the line. Let's say hello. Silex, pleasure to see you once again. How are you feeling coming out of that matchup?
Hey guys, hey Dev.
Hello.
Yeah, that match was pretty good. We won the first one 7-3 on club, and Coastline 4-7. I mean, we've been doing pretty on Coastline recently. Saw it at against an RV and then SI, but we've got 2 new players and they're really pulling their own at the moment. So like we're taking it as a learning experience at the moment.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. We've had a chance to already hear from you since you picked up Gio and Pat, but I mean, it's got to be pretty huge as a team to undertake not only 2 new players onto the roster, but to pick up players who are making their debut into Pro League. What's it been like bringing on Gio and Pat? What have been the challenges? What have been the fresh ideas that they've brought with them? And what's it kind of been like that going through that whole commotion?
It's been pretty good so far. We're still trying to find our groove, find our own play style at the moment. Gio and Pat are really contributing hard. So before we had some issues with like internal comms and stuff like that. Now we're still getting over a couple of hurdles, but you can see that they've got some pretty good ideas, especially mid-round. And it's really important at the moment where you're in a game where adapting is really key to success. So I think they're still finding their place, but it won't be long before they really shine. I mean, tonight you saw Pat go off like, how many rounds did he like get 3+ kills? Went insane.
Yeah, it was fantastic to see. And I mean, Clubhouse, I think we've got to pat you on the back for that. Really great job on Clubhouse. A lot of interesting strategies that you guys brought out. But I want to talk about Coastline because you mentioned it already. You mentioned how you've struggled in the past. Na'Vi, you lost it, but it was one of the mainstays in your map pool for a really long time. So I want you to tell me a little bit about what changed with Coastline and you guys on Coastline. And what was it that in particular really impacted your attacks today? Because you went through that attacking half with only 1 round and it was the very last round in the half.
I think the map is it's getting a bit stale. There's only so many things you can do on the map, even though you have like all 4 sites being viable. Pent used to be the main one back early on when the map first came out. Now it's like the worst one, in my opinion at least. And our attacks today, we decided to more like attack head on. Really use our utility, clear the roamers, and we encountered some pretty heavy bottlenecks in like Jaeger ADSs, Wamai's magnets, and it just soaked up a lot of that utility. And once we've like exhausted that utility, we have to like stop, rethink, reposition ourselves, and that really slowed us down because you could see in the first few rounds we'd like be a man up or something, but then when it came to executing onto the site, we're low on time. We haven't got the utility to actually help ourselves take the site. We don't have time to fully drone it out, and yeah, I think it just came down to that. The last round of our attacks on Hookah, we kind of took more direct approach on the site, killed the players there, and then focused on getting the plant down and fragging them as they were, I don't know, retaking. So I guess hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. Very insightful. Thanks.
All right. Well, Silex, as always, we appreciate your time. Congrats on the season, and hopefully we get to chat soon.
Yep, rank later. See you there.
Oh, okay. Damn. All right, let's go.
I'll take that.
Actually, I'm too tired. Dude, after all these cards.
No, I'm hyped up. I feel like I'm just going to go and click heads like Pat or Tex or something. I'm pumped.
Just chuck me on the thermite. I'll rock that new skin. I'll just sit back.
Every team with a Diesel or an Ace is all right, and we know how good they can.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, look, that was really insightful. I mean, Silex is a player who's actually been in the Rainbow Six scene in ANZ for one of the longest out of all of these players. We've talked about new blood like Gio and Pat. Silex used to be a player on this roster, and he sacrificed his position as a player in order to pick up Diesel because they wanted to pick up Diesel. But he's been playing. He played in the very first LAN event that ANZ ever had for Rainbow Six. So he's an OG, as you could say it. And it's great to see the way that Wildcard has progressed over the years from playing in these $5,000 LAN events to playing at the Six Invitational. Even though they haven't had that result that they've been striving for, you can really see that this is a team who's been dedicated for such a long time, and things have changed, and they've really come a long way.
Well, talking about OGs in ANZ, we have Magnet from Fnatic on the line. Let's say hello. G'day, Mag. Good to see you again, mate. Third night in a row.
Yep.
What are your impressions coming out of that matchup?
Good. We won the one match we needed to. Top 2 is always the goal for us, and we achieved it. So we are actually very happy with ourselves at the moment.
I'm interested in hearing about kind of how the roster has had to deal with the challenge of switching out a player and bringing back aces from the bench. We've talked a lot about aces, and something that I had brought in early in the broadcast was talking about how aces played for you guys back when you kind of had a more dedicated support player, when you kind of had a hard support. And at least in my observation, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like your team has evolved kind of away from that style and moving much into more a flexible 5-man flex with a lot more entries, and everyone's contributing in terms of utility and calls. What was it like bringing on a player that has been sitting on the bench for a while and kind of incorporating that and teaching that player all your stuff, but also kind of learning to, he's not Virtue, you have to shift around your roles around that?
It's actually been a lot easier than expected. Obviously, we did a lot of hard work on sort of defining everyone's roles with aces on the team. As you've already seen the games we've played in Pro League, we've got very different roles. Like an example, I'm now, the buck player. I don't play as much support, say like Maestro on defense as well. So it's pretty much just been a grind so far. I definitely agree with you. Your statement that, say, before we didn't sort of have a full dedicated hard support player. That in a way is still the case now, but Ace is still playing more of a support role to how Lusty was before. I mean, there's always going to be a support player on the team, but for our team especially, it's always about 5 people contributing to supporting each other in a way. So yeah, Aces has fitted in nicely. He's had some decent performances. He's holding up his own, almost clutching. So yeah, actually really happy with how smooth we were able to do it.
Yeah, that's great to hear, man. And I mean, you guys have been, we talked about OGs earlier, and we've talked about how you guys have been around for the longest time. I mean, you went to every single invitational, right, Mag? You guys have come so far. And we want to know, what's that next step for Fnatic? You come back from 6 Invitational. I know you guys are proud of what you accomplished, but I know that you're shooting for even higher than what you accomplished this time. What's the next move for Fnatic?
Next move for Fnatic, top 4 at a major. Never been accomplished by us so far. Our best is top 6. So obviously there are, smaller goals along the way, which we'll work towards. But top 4 at the next major is our next goal, I'd say. Well, personally anyway.
Well, Magnet,
Awesome.
Of course, there are a lot of Fnatic fans here in ANZ and abroad. Is there anything you'd like to say for them for showing their support so far this year?
Thanks very much, guys. Look, you're always behind us, whether we win, whether we lose, especially when we win. You love that when we do upsets, but really appreciate the support. And yeah, I hope you're excited to see what